Martin, so you don't overpress like say, no, I like Jovi. I'm in no way supporting Jovi. I find it disgraceful to play out of this conflict.
You're so happy with mediocrity.
Yes, that peace is a thing for everyone. I've advocated for peace to be a subject matter in class.
Another industry that keeps Cameroonians on their toes, which is the football industry. We have the minister and we have the toe. It's very chaotic.
Ayo key winter or the fun. Like you don't know the queen mother that births the fun.
Hi, I am Sih Njong, your host for Healthy Mindset, Healthy Lifestyle. And here with me, we have our guest of honor, Mr. Lee Warren. Welcome.
Thank you, Sih. You said guest of honor.
Yes.
Sounds really big. But I'm glad to be here.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. So how have you been?
I've been feeling okay until last night. I got a cold. It's been a big menace since morning, but I think I'm getting better.
Great, you should. Just keep warm.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. So, Mr. Lee, please, would you like to tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do?
Okay, my name is Nsaibirni. Nsaibirni means the world is bad.
Okay. The world is bad?
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, I'm a lot of things in different times. But for today, I want to focus on what, you know, animates my life, which is peace. So I am a peace activist, and I am also the founder and executive director of Community Peace Solutions.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, I use every medium with a beautiful team to reach out, telling the world, telling the people about peace.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, for me, the most important element. I think that's the most I can say about myself right now.
Okay.
So you just everything, theater, cinema, sports, whatever, to talk, to do, to show peace.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really nice.
Sure.
And peace is actually very important and so much needed in Cameroon right now.
You can say that again. Yeah.
It's been hard. It's been terrible couple of years, most especially in the northwest and the southwest region.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really a very important thing people should be talking about, sharing. And thank you so much for building a community which is out to preach that peace.
Yeah, true.
And we hope that you go a long way to bring change into our community.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're going to dive right into our topic for the day. And the topic is, what role can young people play in the peace-building society? What role can young people play in peace building and most especially in Cameroon? So just from the topic and being a peace activist, so what would you like to share with us in terms of our topic?
It's a very interesting topic and very timely, of course. We know the current context in Cameroon, in some parts of Africa and in some parts of the world as well.
Yeah.
And of course, knowing that young people make for well over 65% of the world's population, their role in peace-building processes cannot be, you know, overemphasized.
Yeah.
And the absence of the understanding of that role, the absence of the, you know, or the lack of play is also a big cause for why we continue to experience violence and conflicts in Cameroon, across Africa, and the rest of the world. Young people within the conflict cycle fall in all categories. They are victims, they are actors, they are instruments. Talking about their role in peace building, therefore, means transforming them into active agents of peace. You know, this is a role they haven't understood or mastered in the past. I mean, for most, I must say there are a lot of people involved in peace building, a lot of young people I admire.
Yeah.
However, it cannot stay at being a figureheads kind of thing. It's not a particular people's thing.
Yeah.
If
it's
peace,
for everybody.
if peace has to happen, it has to be the role of just everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually in a conflict situation, we have stakeholders, and it's very easy to look at the top end stakeholders.
Yes, exactly.
And in the end, you discover that he or she who had the key to resolving the conflict was never amongst the identified stakeholders. That's why I insist that peace is a thing for everyone.
Everybody.
Now, back into to what you were asking, the role of young people and how important it is. Like I said, young people fall within all categories, involved in
Yeah.
Now, if we have a population that is majorly young people, and these people are able to master the concept of peace, especially positive peace,
Yeah.
It's most likely that they will try to be useful to the peace process. For example, within the conflict, the Cameroonian situation, and just like in other parts of Africa, you hardly find old people on the play, like within the conflict play out.
Yeah.
In demonstrations.
Yeah, all the younger people.
Yeah. You might have figureheads like standing at the forefront to lead and all that. Yeah. Which is also okay. It's very okay to send your voices out there. It's part of the peace building process. Yeah, because conflict prevention involves expressing your disgruntlement.
Yeah.
Saying what you feel is not okay.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm very good with that. In as much as you don't destroy anything, in as much as what you do does not undermine the sanctity of human life, I'm very okay.
Yeah.
Now, away from being these instruments like used, especially and mostly by politicians, to practice what we call pressure within conflict situations, either through violent demonstrations or arms speaking. Okay. Young people can understand that it is possible to get change and be instruments of change within a peaceful environment. And how are they going to do this? By understanding the impact of violence, because the world of today and that of tomorrow is for the young people. Mostly the political leaders are phasing out, and they'll help you to perhaps destroy
what you're supposed to be doing.
What you're supposed to protect and improve.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you might end up having a solution, just like you might end up not having a solution.
Yeah.
Either ways, you would have lost a lot, and you would spend a whole part of you, like a big part of your life, rebuilding what you would have been improving. So, there needs to be that emancipation of the young person from the space of violent extremism, where we dissociate ourselves from violence. However, understanding that we don't need, we don't have to let, political leaders mess up with our present and our future, but also knowing and being aware to not participate in any form, of change seeking, which undermines the value of human life.
Yeah.
That is the key. So we must stand in denial to violence and to everything that impedes peace.
Yeah.
And then also pick a clear understanding of what peace is and the structures of peace and the values of peace and how we can maintain these, because it is for our sake. In fact, young people, if the world were, what I imagine it's supposed to be, would reject every form of or how do I call it, phenomenon, which is likely to bring them in a situation of violent conflict. Yeah, they would reject. So it is a collective responsibility, and it starts with education.
Yeah.
Denying violence, because it's so sweet, it's easy to get in that space.
To get violent and to be more
Again,
peaceful.
we're looking at conflict at the macro level.
Yeah.
If we get back to the micro, it's easy for a young person to think that if he gets hurt in public, he has to retaliate. He has to hit back and to restore his esteem, to feel okay,
Yeah.
So it starts from there.
He has a very big role to play.
Good. Now, when you understand where true value comes from, like from being peaceful, from being mature enough to kill the ego and let the situation, go
away just like
then peace can have its way. But if you think that it's a hit back that secures your esteem, that secures your personality, then there's likely to be that play of conflict.
Yeah.
When we understand that through education, telling ourselves, from the very start of life that we need peace is the most important resource in life.
Yeah.
We need to cherish, promote, secure, protect it. It becomes easy. And it also helps us to be able to reject any project whatsoever
that stands against
that value.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when it goes off, it affects everyone. And
exactly. It's not just a particular.
No, it affects everyone. So I'm looking at some sort of active participation of young people in peace building through the understanding of what peace is and the active participation in denying, in rejecting any form of violent activity that undermine the sanctity of human life. And most importantly now, participating in what we call positive peace, like, good governance.
Yeah.
It's easy, in the play of conflict. You have young people who are used to purchase arms.
Yeah.
You have young people who are used to negotiate
kidnapping and all
of that. And also on the other side, on the political side, you have young people who are sent to go and create, some kind of schemes, face buying schemes. Like, okay, we have a conflict and we have an interest in demonizing the image of the other, like the other belligerent.
Yeah.
So we can also recruit young people to go and create acts that paint the other bad. At the end of the day, it's the young people that are losing.
Yeah.
It's the most vulnerable in society that are suffering. So it's the understanding of, these intrigues and how these things play out in conflict that can help to emancipate the young people from that conflict space and engage them in an active role, to grow, secure, protect peace, using especially the, for today, technology that, God has given, I should say, yeah.
Okay.
So we could talk about that over and over, yeah.
Okay, so I have a question for you, and my first question is going to be, what are the unique contributions young people can make to peace building? What are those unique contributions that young people can make to peace building?
Building integrity.
Okay.
I'll start from there.
Okay.
Integrity is the ability to do what is right, whenever, wherever, and whether or not one is seen or not seen, appreciated or not, insulted or not. When we build a true sense of integrity, we are likely to be resistant towards any forms of manipulation. So when we build integrity, it's the first step to stay resistant, to curb out our vulnerability to sort of contact, an influence.
To the wrong things.
Yeah. On the second level, I'd like to talk about securing a present and a future which is worth living. Young people need to know what they deserve and work to secure only that. If we do not know what we deserve, it is likely that we get manipulated. It's easy for, within especially our context, for a young person to say, Massa, you own too much over, small things, so you don't overpress, like say, nobody people they try, like we have.
Yeah, we take mediocrity.
Good, like that's enough.
We're so happy with mediocrity.
Good. It works sometimes, but it's temporary.
Yeah.
In the long run, that mediocrity builds into a whole chunk of frustrations.
A lot.
And that's what brings about conflict.
Yeah.
When you understand what you want, what you need to secure a prosperous present and a future. I'm insisting on present because we need to get out of the space always thinking we have to live in a certain future. No, it has to be now.
Now, yeah.
When we know what we deserve, we would work for it and ensure that every other thing that builds around it is securing that
thing we deserve. And you'll not be settling for less.
We wouldn't be settling for less. And it also is about our acceptance to learn how to manage those things that secure a good present.
Yeah.
It's about our acceptance to learn best practice and our acceptance to get out of ourselves and practice a selfless form of leadership. Okay. And this prepares, because again, we shouldn't wait to be presidents.
Before we make changes.
Good. In our little corners, in our schools, in our small meeting houses, communities,
friendships.
Good. We should be able to practice from there what we'd like to see in the big space.
Yeah.
Third, it's important for young people to accept that they have a voice.
Sure.
And also to accept the danger of that voice. Because that voice is so loud and can do two things. It can do the good
or the bad.
And it can do the bad.
Yeah.
The consciousness and how we make use of that voice is important.
Very, very.
And because peace builds from how we interact, our mindset, and everything about our relationships with others. If we decide, to understand that developing good relations with others, respecting the rights of it's true that people are not equal. But again, even in that inequality, we need to always find compatibility, where the meeting point,
let's agree to disagree.
Yeah, synergies, moving forward. When we practice this, we're building ourselves for better management at the top. Again, better management at the top comes from, it's accumulation, it's an amalgamation of all of the petty management, we do here and there.
Yeah.
There's a proverb in Lamso, ayo yi ki winto o yi zi fun. Like, you don't know the queen mother that births the fun.
Okay.
So treat everyone as though they had the key.
Birthing the fun.
To birthing the fun, and in this case, to peace. Ignore no one. Oh no.
Be kind. And all of that.
Let this flow on every level. On every level. And this thing we're sharing is not for Cameroon alone, it's for the rest of the world, because the conflicts across the world come from people thinking they can practice and attain their own selfish goals at the expense
of others.
We understand that we live in a space where we all need to survive. And of course, sometimes my survival depends on you and the things you depend on to survive. How do we bridge the gap? How do we negotiate for me to give you what helps you survive, and you in return
give me back what you deserve?
Good. And at the back of our minds, understanding that our mutual survival,
it's on each other.
It's on our mutual understanding.
Yeah.
So I'll get back to the voice. You see, this voice therefore helps to secure proper functioning, proper management, proper living, with the right values.
Okay.
And on the other side, what we call today influencers, they have become a culmination of that voice, taking center stage, and especially social media.
Yeah.
But the question is, to what end? What do we get from the influencing? What do we get? So that's where I come with the danger of that voice. Because when we have a lack of understanding of what we deserve, we can go many miles preaching against our own selves just for petty rewards.
Sure.
Yes, for petty rewards. But sometimes you need to give up your own self and say no. You see, if you give me 2 million to execute a project, a social media campaign against the future of young people, it's going to help me. Mm-hmm. But it's not about me. I'd rather not have that money and work to secure a better present and a future for the young people. And that, inadvertently creates a better present and future for myself.
For you as well.
So we must have that grace to, get out of our own self spaces
Selfless,
and think about
the other people.
community, think about mutuality and all that.
Yeah, I think that was one thing I also learned from Malcolm X and during his time of war when he
Yeah.
was fighting. And he said he's fighting for a good future for his children because he didn't want them to live like he lived. So that alone should be a motivation like to many other people.
Right.
And knowing that, okay, whatever you're doing now, you're going to have family, you're going to have a generation that comes after you
Yeah.
that needs to live better than you do. So it's very important to fight right, not just fighting, but fighting for the right cause and in the right way.
Yeah, sure. And that creates legacy, right?
Exactly.
What you're remembered for.
Exactly.
Because we need to tell people that it's really not how much time you get to live.
It's how much impact you get to
create.
create that makes you outstanding.
But a bad person also creates impact.
Of course. Now that everybody, that's the point is, there's always going to be the good and the bad, but we should try as much as we can to always choose the good over the bad.
Yeah.
Like you said, integrity. And that comes with building integrity.
It tells the whole story.
Yeah.
Integrity.
If you have integrity, then obviously, most of the time you make the right choices.
True.
So for our next question is, how can young people be empowered to become leaders in peace-building initiatives?
That's a good one. What inspired me to create my organization, Community Peace Solutions, was my understanding of peace and how peace can happen. It was my understanding of shifting peace from formal spaces to the local environment, the community spaces. And that concept draws me back to the nucleus of every society, which is the family.
Yeah.
We come from places where a good upbringing definitely secures
a good future.
I mean, most likely secures. Yeah. When parents understand that when you have a kid in your stomach, you don't even control how they react to stimuli from out there. So more of when they get to earth, where they have to struggle to survive, they struggle to feed, they struggle to have water, they struggle, with their own emotions and all that.
Yeah.
Taking the family space as a peace school is the first step.
Okay.
Let every child come out understanding that they are getting into a world where you have others, and that survival can only happen with proper interaction, proper sharing, understanding with these others.
Good communication.
When you look at the stories in the Bible that depict violence, you want to look at Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
You want to look at Joseph and his brothers. It's an issue of interest, because by nature, you are political, I am political.
Oh, yeah.
Why? This is how I mean political. You have an interest, I have my interest. And these interests clash. And that's the start of conflict. Training your child from birth to understand that is going to happen helps the child to already activate their sense of, the ability to resolve, the ability to avert. Like, again, conflict mustn't happen. And the best form of peace building is conflict prevention. Yeah, conflict prevention. Not resolution, no. It shouldn't have happened
in the first place before we're trying to resolve.
Good. So build the children from their latent stages as peace builders. I mean, they have to understand that with peace, every other thing comes. Without peace, nothing comes. Because if I sustain a conflict with you, and we have to collaborate to achieve a goal, the likelihood is that I will keep away from you, and you'll keep away from me. And even when I understand the importance of that collaboration.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're going forward on your journey of life, and you find opportunities that will be useful for me. But because of the conflicts we're experiencing,
we cannot share.
Yeah, because we are competing instead of collaborating.
Exactly.
Good. So we need to learn peace from those latent stages of life, from birth. So parents have a duty to teach their children that. On the second level, our education system. I've advocated for peace to be a subject matter in class since we studied.
Okay.
Study peace, its structures, its values, its stages, and everything around it.
Yeah.
As though it were as though it were mathematics.
Exactly.
Because growing up now, many times I do not make meaning of learning about fishing, about the experience of others in some parts of the world, which is also important. But I don't see how
right now
I shouldn't learn peace if I could learn those. Because what I need right now in my life is peace. And I know when I have it, everything happens. Okay, I'm living as an internally displaced person in Yaoundé.
Okay.
Coming from a home where I had everything.
Okay, that's a lot to do.
And with, too many plans with the whole team. And I'm just like, within these years, and especially that we were most energized in about 2014, 15 to unravel a number of projects. And just when we were completing the thought process, this came. And it therefore shows to me that it makes me and the others, I have this understanding for a long time, that peace is the only thing I need. It's the only thing whatsoever that I need, peace. So that understanding has to flow through all stages. Now the community leadership and structures must try to integrate the issue of peace building and all that in their daily running and all that structures, the funds, the sub-funds, the traditional institutions, the local councils and all of that. It should be a central element in their leadership or management. Now, at the social space, there needs to be a lot of peace education. And now I know there are a lot of stakeholders who are creating spaces for conversations around the subject. There are, capacity building workshops and all that. And these are important because for you to participate in building peace, especially in a complex world like ours, you also need to master, how to analyze conflict, existing conflicts, how to
resolve.
How to resolve. What are the steps, or how does the conflict even come about? You need to know the stages.
You need to understand what conflict is all about.
And most importantly, how to transform a conflict. And to transform it from a violent, for example, to a less violent conflict, what we're trying to do right now. So, in summary, peace should be, we should be intentional. We should be conscious about the importance of learning peace. As a subject, this is something I've worked on. I even developed a curriculum for it.
Wow.
Like how peace can be learned.
Taught in schools.
And I remember last year during a football, campaign for peace, in the presence of some government, some high people. I mentioned in the presentation, look, we have the Secretary of State in, I think, in the Ministry of Basic Education.
Wow, that's great.
And I did say, Madam Minister, we need you to make government to adopt a policy that helps our children learn peace as they would learn mathematics, as they would learn chemistry, physics, and
every other subject.
Yeah, because right now, what is making meaning for my life mostly is communication. I didn't need to learn. It's good to have an idea in physics. I'm not saying they're not important.
They're important, but there are other things that are more important.
I feel like peace. I feel like we should.
Honestly, I feel like that's true because I feel like there are many other things that are more important in the society that should be taught more in schools than the others. Okay. So moving on to our next question, and it'll be, how can young people bridge the gap between the different generations and communities in order to promote peace?
In Rwanda, there was an important post-conflict phenomenon called the gacaca. Gacaca in Kinyarwanda means grass. When you hear grass, you think of a return to nature. You think of local.
Yeah.
You think of people. You think of community.
Yeah.
Because in our African ways, the earth is a place of communion. We can have a fire in the center where we exchange. In that circle, in the Rwandan experience, you had the perpetrators of genocide just as the victims, and you had the arbiters. In the same way, we have our local, like the initiative I created in 2016 called Ntangri. Ntangri is a cultural carrefour for chit-chatting, leveraging on culture for peace building, conflict transformation, for healing, and all of that. And what you notice is that the Ntangri, just as the Gachacha of Rwanda, as a space for what we call intergenerational dialogue.
Okay.
It brings together the elderly, just like the young, and they're all on the grass. So it brings them to one level and helps the conversation. And everyone is expressive. And it bridges the gap, which is also a big source of conflict. Because some people of the older generation might not be aware of the interest of the younger generation.
Yes.
They might not be aware of the changes that have happened.
Going on as time goes on.
Good. So I think practicing, because I'm a local man, I like to go from the earth. Practicing these kind of spaces. Because it's a normal, it's a static, it's an element that we grew up to know in our culture. We're not inventing anything. We're simply saying, don't let this culture die. And I always go back to the family, the nucleus of society. Growing up as a kid, I know every evening there was this fireside time. And during that time, there was a lot of transfer of knowledge from the elderly to the younger ones. And also in our interaction, in our questioning, the elderly are able to understand the expansion process of our own minds, our own vision about life, and they can help to shape or also to reshape their own intervention in our own growth process. So bridging that gap is important, and it starts from that level. Good. At the corporate level or at the highest social level, we need to create a leadership or to inspire a leadership that cuts the bureaucracy that impedes the kind of connection young people need to have with the leaders. It's pathetic, but in our country, the minister, or I use minister because it's the most feels very distant from the young person. And generally, the other generations, who are mostly vulnerable people, poor people, are always on the side, waiting to be instruments for political gain. And it creates a sort of complex. The minister feeling too high, and these other people feeling too low. So much so that in the event, whether accidental or planned, young people get to meet the minister, it is difficult for them to express, to communicate their needs, because they feel
there's that strong communication between them. And I mean, they don't feel like those people can relate to whatever they are going through,
and they don't feel worthy to even communicate because they feel like these people are too high
for them
and we are too low down there. So what we need to do is listen. Now, how do you prepare yourself to lead tomorrow if all you do is listen and don't say how you feel or how you see? So we're suppressed to a level where we don't get to talk. And there's this interesting story of a man who's an ex-service man. He had wished to meet the president. I think one of the people who did the First or Second World War or something, who participated and then later joined to the army in the post-independence era. He had wished to meet the president. I don't know how true the story is, but finally the president invited him. And when he was planning for the visit, he called his family together and said, look, I'm going to meet the president, What
would you like me
to tell the president? What you want? He was saying, Daddy, tell the president I want to be an NM, I want to go to military school, we need a road in our community, we need this. And he had all of those ideas. The man went into the presidency, came back, and they said, what is the feedback? He said when he got in, the president greeted him, and he spoke 3 words.
Who, the president of him? Who spoke 3 words?
The man.
The man, okay.
He said, oui, monsieur le président. Oui, monsieur le président. Merci, monsieur le président. So, yes, Mr. President. Yes, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. So, answering to, how are you? I hope you're okay. Yes, Mr. President. Is everyone okay? Yes, Mr. President. All right, that's all right. Thank you, Mr. President. And he left.
And that was the end of the discussion.
So every other thing he had carried with him
all vanished.
So when he walked out of the presidency, that's when it dawned into him
that he had requested
that he carried with him that complex where you don't talk to president. These are structures we must break. Yeah. We must break them.
It's very important too, because it starts even with the police. I mean, when you mentioned just the police, scared, they don't want to even, as you say, talk less of that level of power. People, it's so sad.
Whereas they are there to serve.
So exactly. Those are even the people who are there to serve us and not the other.
We call it the public service. So it's a service. It's servant leadership that we expect in these spaces. Unfortunately, it's not the case, but we are hoping that things get better
as time goes on.
Yeah.
So for our next question, how can social media and technology be leveraged by young people to promote peace building?
Yeah. It's a big tool. In fact, like the most useful tool in peace building in this present time, the social media. Yeah. Because it's also a conflict incubator. First, I would have 2 points on that. Okay. First, I'd like to say young people, again, need an understanding of how conflict develops. There is the mental phase, the psychological phase. That's where violence develops, resentment, anger, willingness to revenge, to avenge, ego, and all of that. That's where it starts. So sometimes when it's necessary, it gets to the mouth. Yeah. And we call it verbal violence. Yeah. So there's also mental violence, if you like, psychological violence. Because before you get to where we're going, there's that, it starts here. And then the mouth speaks it. Yeah. And that's the most dangerous. The mouth speaks it, and most often it gets normalized. And that's the danger of it within the social media, which is supposed to be a great tool. But
now it is
on the reverse, it's hurting us. Yeah. Good. Now, when it happens, and what you call today influencers reproduce it, it becomes like a normal
phenomenon,
and people practice it in their discourse. I see Facebook trying to control violence, and this is amazing. Like, they don't even want the word that suggests violence or anything that causes harm, whether to the psychology or the physical build of a human person. They don't want it, and this is amazing.
That is great.
But again, we still find ways of communicating that violence, because the character, the people use different characters to represent, or they code it, but it's still the same communication because it's sense. And again, with the coding, there is the sort of mental abstraction of violence in writing. Mm-hmm. Because if I have to write kill, which is supposed to be K-I-L-L, and I use K exclamation mark L-L, it looks scary. It's
even worse than just writing.
It's worse. Good. So when this is normalized, and then we keep using it, and the pidgin language, which was such a beautiful language when I first heard it, has become a good boat on which that is sailing for the destruction of the young Cameroonian person. Mm. And on the other side is the Frank Anglais,
the French.
On the other side and with the concept of what kambole. I don't know what it represents culturally. It could be a beautiful cultural concept.
Yeah.
But when you look at its play out in society,
It doesn't represent
does
whatever the initial idea.
good. So that's how violence has been normalized in Cameroon society. So it's very normal for a young person to insult the other, and they feel good about it.
Yeah.
And contrarily, when you try to intervene, to say no, it's not right, you're laughed at us.
You become a weaker.
Yeah, like a JK. I hear those words, or anyone even reason. So that I said nowadays, nowadays, you get the point. Like
It's you who is getting. People instead come at you.
You feel so absent. You feel like, is it happening? What's going on? Like I thought I was helping, but now. Yeah. So it's become like the morale of the age, and people are practicing it. Now, what is the long run effect of it? It's going to destroy their moral capacity to maintain integrity, to maintain peace through rejecting schemes that undermine peace. Social media, however, is a strong tool. If we reverse it, when I started my international interactions. Okay. I was taking my first trip. I remember when I asked for a guide, like how do I interact with these people? I was so glad to know that in the profiling, the guide, it said Ugandans are very calm. They hate kind of violent language. How do you call dressing that's inappropriate again?
Okay, indecent.
Very revealing. Indecent. Yeah, right?
Indecent, very revealing.
Dressing and all that. And I'm like, wow, a country still has a soul. Wow. You can see people profiling. You can see people marketing themselves. Yeah. And letting you know, look, if you've got garbage, you better trash it at the airport before you get in here. It makes a lot of sense.
Good standards.
I'm afraid that in our own society, whereas by nature we are very hospitable, peaceful people, but there is that transformation.
It's not the message.
We're now moving. We're now moving away from that soul, and we're adopting a new identity. And the fear is, to what end? Where would that lead us? And it's clear. It's clear. So if we do not sort that now, in the nearest future, in any play out of conflict, it would be crazy. Yeah, that's so crazy. True. So through our social media communication, we can promote peace in many ways. First, by adopting, by moderating our language. Rejecting language that undermines the integrity or the integrity of the other. Yes. That undermines or that defeats, our morality. Yes, it's important. We there's a lot of work that can be done on that, but truly, if we can use social media and what we call influencers. We need to define. Yeah, we need to redefine that, and we also have to be able to shame. By shame, I mean I don't have in my intention to reduce anyone, but to tell them, look, if you do this, it's a tick. If you do this, it's a cross. Yeah, we don't
just having to shame away things that are not good, but in a nice way.
Good, of course, always.
To be kind.
Always.
In passing those messages.
Always, yeah, sure,
right. Sure. So can we move on to the next question? Yeah. All right. So my next question is, how can the government and international organizations help or support young people and involve them in the peace-building society?
Government, yes, it's through democracy. People by people for the people. If this understanding of, I don't know if it's a Platonic understanding, I don't know. Understanding of democracy is practiced, there's going to be better involvement of young people. I mean, not political engagement.
Yeah.
Because we have to differentiate between involvement and political engagement, because we don't have to wait to
elections time.
Yeah.
And then you start seeing them making moves.
Good.
But that work should be put in right.
Involvement. Like, we need to practice the mentorship kind of system where you prepare a generational takeover.
Yes.
By providing the necessary resources, the necessary opportunities, and quality across the board.
Yeah.
We have to be able to identify amongst young people key actors. I mean, the government, of course, has to identify key actors amongst young people in their different areas or communities, and use them as contact points to organize the youth populace for transformative growth in preparation for takeover, by giving them the necessary opportunities to serve at the latent stages. I mean, this just to say we don't expect to hear that we have a minister of youth and sports and then he's 60 years old.
I mean, that's crazy.
What does he want?
Who are you mentoring?
What does he
want to show?
To offer?
Exactly. What can you offer?
I'm saying this because peace also is structural, just like violence is structural. Like I said, the context or the concept of positive peace, we have a number of elements that you must ensure when they exist in terms of policy, in terms of structure, they will ensure peace.
Yeah.
When they are absent, there's likely to be conflict. Yeah. Now, providing these opportunities, policy that secures the place of the young people in the daily management of the state is an important way of securing that peace. Why? Because there will be no intergenerational conflict. Young people will not be fighting
the old people.
No, their own.
Yes.
If we had a youth minister, then and he's messing up, we know, he's not impressing us like, and again, he's more likely to act better because he's going to relate better and all that. I mean, these are structural elements of peace building which government must ensure. At the level of government, get to kind of involvement of young people, not political engagement, involvement in the daily management of the state. There is the practice of the junior parliamentarians, which I see the parliament doing.
Yes.
It's an amazing concept. I like it. Just I don't know how far. I don't know. I haven't assessed to know.
It's been a good. It's a good program. Yes, it's been helpful. I know a couple of people who have gone through it.
Yeah.
It actually has very impactful. Yes, but now I think the problem with these things is how much do they go into the community? Because I think one thing in Cameroon is most of these things end only within wherever the meeting is held.
Yeah, that's what I spoke about, political engagement.
Like
and not involvement. After that, what?
After that, nothing. You don't see how far does that go?
Yeah.
How many people do get the information or whatever is being held? I mean,
it's what I said. We need involvement, active involvement, and not just political engagement on the level of international organizations, just as local organizations. I mean, we find them; they're present everywhere. In both the conflict prevention and conflict, transformation and peace building. The other thing I'd like to note is that we understand that diplomacy has a style.
Yeah.
But the other thing I can say to encourage what they're already doing, I mean, the international organizations, is to say that, they have to be more open with belligerents in conflict situations. There are things you can be political about or diplomatic about. There are others you have to be clear about.
Yes.
Anything that undermines the sanctity of human life has
to be very clear.
We have to be truthful about it.
Yes, it's something you cannot compromise.
Yeah. And when you look in the back, the sort of interest that organizations work to protect is also disgraceful.
Yeah.
You find some sort of complicity and all that, which is also instrumentalizing young people in the practice of violence. And this is not helpful.
At all.
It doesn't really help. But I must admire and encourage the opportunities most of these international organizations provide for young people through exchange programs. Because again, when you're teaching, like I encouraged your children about peace from the start, help put them in context where they meet people who are different. There's a lot of learning that happens there. And the international organizations, many of them, are providing these opportunities for young people, and this is good. Going, far away from home, meeting others, interacting.
Different conferences, different countries, exchanging cultures, see how it works.
Good. How does it work here? How can I adapt it to serve my own community?
Exactly.
And this kind of knowledge exchanges
is very important.
It's very important, and it's created a lot of, there's been a lot of difference from it, and young people come back to their, communities to now
trying to actually
provide solutions to many problems and all of that. Yeah. So to me, that's involvement.
Yes.
It's involvement.
That is good involvement.
Knowledge sharing, because again, we don't know the queen mother that makes the king. Train every young person as though, they're the president tomorrow.
Without any discrimination.
Yeah, I'm not sure our president's mother knew he was going to be president.
No.
Good. Neither was it the case for. Yeah, because it's a political system and not a kind of kingship system where okay, if I have a son, he's likely going to be the heir. So treat every child as though they were going to be the king or going to be the president, so that when they finally get to be there, they'll do the right thing. Yeah.
All right. Away from the questions, so let's talk a little bit more about your organization, what it does, and how people can reach out and be involved with what you do.
Yeah, so my organization is called Community Peace Solutions. And the aim is to promote peace as an active subject in society, where every space, every corner of society understands their role play in attaining that value in society. And we have several programs, but the major program we have is Community Peace Schools. And it involves the transformation of just every space into a peace learning hub. Be it the classroom, be it an office, a job, wherever, just transforming every space. And our intention is peace must be sold out. You see, what we call today trends. I really look forward to that time when it's going to trend, to show that peace is something good. It's going to trend to show that someone forgave another, and it looked amazing. And this is what young people are talking about. It's going to give me a lot of pleasure, and this is what we are advocating through Community Peace Schools. So we travel through communities, be it sporting events, we transform, we collaborate with organizers.
Let's take a short break.
Sure.
You're telling us how you're...
Yeah, so basically we just want peace to be the thing out there. Let it be on the lips of everybody. And let everyone understand their role play in securing this and the importance of it. That's why we stop at nothing. We run through theater, sports, music, just whatever medium is there to, in all spheres of life, let peace trend. Let it trend. Let it reign. It's a thing for this social media age, and since we cannot do away with social media, we have to use it for our own selves. Let everyone understand, sometimes you think you're hurting the other, but you're also creating discomfort for yourself. Just imagine the stress, the war commander has to go through, trying to reason, trying to convince his own mind and soul and conscience that he has to kill people. So it's a product of self-denial, because you have to dehumanize your own self
you are.
to practice that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So we need a society that understands, the importance of peace, and that works to secure peace at all levels. Why are we supposed to be creating arms in the first place? Because these do not shoot animals.
Yeah, they shoot other human beings.
It's for other human persons. Yeah. So why is that industry even the most lucrative?
I'm telling you, and it's so lucrative.
Yeah. Why do we not understand that our survival here on earth, within the short time we have, because the Bible says 1,000 years at our eyes, but just a second in the eyes of God. Yeah. So we think we have a long life, but it's not really long. So why don't we make that small time, make the most of that time here by understanding, the mutual responsibility to secure a better present and future for each other. So that's basically what we preach through our community peace schools, concept project.
Wow, that's beautiful. I'd like to be on your project.
Sure. You're welcome. Like I said, we transform every space, just like we just transformed your own space into a
very peaceful space.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, so currently in Cameroon, there's a whole battle in the music industry.
Yeah.
And the music industry in Cameroon is struggling to grow. It's trying as much as possible to be seen. And every other industry in Cameroon. Two, we have the sports industry with so much rival, and it's really not healthy. But first of all, what do you think about the chaos in the music industry? We have key players in that industry who have they have a very large fan base. And those people, they keep fighting back and forth because the leaders of those camps do not meet eye to eye.
Pathetic.
And what do you think?
Yeah. For the music, industry, it's a cultural problem.
Okay.
And in Cameroon, we have the Francophone and the Anglophone side of it. And I feel like it's a cultural problem which came about as a result of lack of proper policy to protect the two heritages and to provide space for their distinct but, permit me say, united survival. I don't want to go into the complex, but I want to look at the present. I don't want to go into the profile of the conflict, but I want to go straight to the play out of it now. Recently, I was going through my Facebook, and I saw a lot of trends around conflict. There's Jovi, the artist. Yeah. I mean, I like Jovi.
We all do.
Yeah. However, when I look at how he relates and how the others relate with him, because for some reason, the major conflict, like you said, I should talk about the music, no? Yeah, has been revolving around him.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not a very, I act movies for peace and all that. I also encourage music, but it's not like I'm a present actor within that industry of the music and all that.
Yeah, based on what you know.
Yeah, based on what I know, I've observed that there's conflict because, and this is part of the violence we're experiencing on social media. Why is a brother supposed to shoot out for a concert and the world beyond, or out of the space?
Yeah.
And then you mock at him like, oh, he hasn't had enough.
Calling his show a mic testing show and stuff like that.
Good. Now, who do you think you're hurting?
Is it him or is it the whole?
No, you're hurting yourself. Exactly. This is it. Because we are a whole and every part of us deserves better.
Yes.
It's not because on raising this hand, it hit my head, I'm going to cut it off. No. I would educate my mind to communicate, better, to measure the distance when I'm raising it, to not, I find it disgraceful to play out of this conflict. And I'm in no way supporting Jovi, whom I expect to even be like the father figure. Because, I don't know
I think he is.
I don't know what their ages are, but from what I observe, he is like elderly and he's done this for long.
Let's take aside age, but let's look at the duration of the work.
So now, if I were going to call him a father in the industry, I want to see that he's playing that role
of a father.
Good. And creating, because what is his legacy? It's not about good music, okay? Like I know he sings well and the rap things. I have some of his records. And I'm even happy to know he did the recording for the malarial song, the anti-malarial campaign. It was impressive art. I love to know that back in those days he was already able to produce that kind of stuff, right? But my admiration goes back to zero when I find that they occupy the social media space with a conflict they have sustained for so long. And I'm wondering, what legacy
are they leaving?
What legacy?
Okay.
It cannot keep being that way. They need to give a stop to it. And I'm launching a campaign against influencers who are not influencing properly.
Thank you. I will strongly stand for that campaign because currently in Cameroon, one thing I've discovered is we have the wrong influencers. People shooting out as influencers here and there, and all those influencers take time to do is destroy and tear people down and not communicating the right message. To be very honest, that's my take on influencers in Cameroon, and I think that's a very good campaign. Okay, so back into the music industry, there was this statement Jovi made, and a write-up he made, which was, if you ever disrespected him publicly, then you should give him a public apology. Because, okay, from my understanding, his problem is the fact that he's been disrespected publicly and he deserves a public apology. And if there is that public apology which is going to be done, then it's going to give the peace that needs to be given. Because one thing is, he's Cameroon's industry. Because he's gotten social media Cameroonians on their toes back to back since he went to the UK. I mean, that shows how much impact he has. But now, does it end at that? What is his legacy? And those are very important things that should be taken into consideration. I think while these rivals go on and on. So my question for you was, what do you think about him demanding for a public apology? As a peace builder?
It's difficult, but apology is part of justice. However, for a peace lover, I choose to forgive even more than I want you to apologize. Because what forgiveness does to me, your apology without me forgiving myself cannot do. Again, people have their ways and I honor that. I respect their desires. I think, however, that if what it takes for Jovi to forgive me if truly I hurt him, or even if I didn't hurt him, but I see that what it can take for there to be peace is to make a public apology for Jovi, I will make a public apology for Jovi.
Exactly.
Trust me, that apology brings me honor.
A lot.
Than the denial of it.
Thank you.
Again, if Jovi is only reliant on an apology to forgive, which is also the condition for there to be peace, then it's a mark of dishonor. Either ways, they need to know the result will be their legacy. What we will remember them for.
Are we going to remember them for fighting online the longest part of their career, or are we going to remember them for building the industry and taking it to a whole different level? Because one thing I can say with confidence is our generation is trying so hard to put Cameroon on a different level when it comes to the music industry. They might not be getting it right, but they are working so hard trying to collaborate with each other to not have the same conflicts and all of that. But these people are already there, they know how it works, and I feel that them being united in one way or the other, it's not being friends. Unity is not being friends.
Yeah.
Unity is, okay, fine, we are not fighting, we don't work together, but we respect each other.
True.
That is what's supposed to be very important.
Very important for peace.
And that's the message. Okay, so now we are going to take it to the football.
Yeah. Before we go to football, I'd like to say that I still feel a big chance to have, I don't know whether they're intentional about the conflict they're showing online.
Yeah.
But even if they're joking about it, they should know that they're implanting seeds of
hatred
and violence in
that will go a long way.
young people. They can go a long way to destroy a future that would hitherto be beautiful.
Yeah.
So they have to change. Jovi, Stanley, I don't know, Salatiel is involved.
No, Tizi Panchak.
Tizi Panchak, and I mean, like we just need
all of them.
We need all of that.
Them OGs.
And I'm going to say childishness to start because they are really big and they are out there all over the place. I put on my TV, it's them talking. It's them singing.
You go to...
Is that what I want to play for my son to listen to if he would go on the internet and find out these
nasty,
people?
very nasty promos
So,
and stuff.
yeah, it should end. And I also wish to collaborate with anyone else who's ready to create that reconciliation.
For reconciliation.
And we can even have a collaboration, like a song that is all of these people in one, and it's really going to be amazing.
It's going to be a beautiful thing to watch first, because the point is we feel like
it's never late to.
We the first thing is we forget that it's not just Cameroonians watching; the world is watching.
True.
So it doesn't reflect only on them as individuals, but it carries the country a long way. Okay, now. I heard somebody throwing and say he cannot even feel a common little space. Why Nigerians are hitting O2. O2, Nigerians have the population. Nigerians have what? And I read somewhere, and which is true.
Yeah.
Before Burna Boy, Davido, Whiskey, all of them falling out. Before they were a unit.
Good.
So they are falling out now when they are already... when after building a large mark, which has put their country, their industry in a good space. So now it's almost possible to say they're in a healthy competition, because why? This person, a producer or whoever is contacting maybe Burna Boy for a show and say, okay, fill up O2. Another producer is contacting Davido. That money, that glory, all of that goes back to their country.
Right.
And which is, I mean, it's a good thing. But now the difference with us is we have conflict from day one, which is not going anywhere.
It's a conflict. It's a mindset of competition and unhealthy.
The wrong competition.
You understand that you come from a family and then a community and then maybe a region and then a country and then a continent and the world. When you get into a certain position, you no longer are yourself.
It's no longer
especially when you know you're an influencer. And that's why I even want to create like a concept called the influencer police.
Okay.
Yeah. We need to monitor
this influence.
Monitor, and regulate the influencer action and all that. You're on the global stage to represent a collectivity. It's your family, and then it's your community, and then it's your country, and it's your continent. And on the whole, it's the world.
So it's no longer about you.
So if you fail, for example, let's consider Jovi failed. And I'm rejoicing because I support TC, or you call it TC Panchak.
Cameroon has failed.
Cameroon has failed. So, I mean, out of my selfishness, I feel like I have to support TC by condemning or celebrating what I consider failure. I mean, which I understand wasn't even the case. That's absolutely wrong. It's the same on the other side. If you celebrate Jovi because, or you want to condemn the others because you celebrate Jovi, it's young people. Like I said, conflict should not only be seen at the political level. You see, all of these social structures level. We need to withdraw ourselves because we build the habit of conflict. when we engage in these online trolls, fanatism, supporting, and it defeats our integrity, because integrity deserves its place. I should say Jovi is wrong when he is wrong,
and
irrespective of whether I'm his family or fan.
Not.
I should say
Stanley is wrong.
Stanley is wrong. Okay, it's why are we creating conflicts where we should be collaborating, right?
The point is, we are trying to pretend a lot. Yeah. Another industry that keeps Cameroonians on their toes, which is the football industry. We have the minister and we have Ito, and all of that situation is very chaotic.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't give the players the time, the space they need to perform the way they ought to perform.
Yeah.
Because if those heads are not together, definitely it doesn't end at them. It transmits. That energy goes down. It's picking sides. It's who is wrong. I mean, so what do you think and feel about that situation?
You see, it has drawn a lot of attention, the conflict between the minister and his department, and also the president of the Cameroon Cameroon Football Federation. Yeah. Again, it's a time when Cameroon is on the global stage, so everyone is observing. Exactly. How are we going to manage this situation? What is happening after all? What are the stakes, and what are the reactions? But you see that the whole thing, though it evolves from what we can understand as a play of ego, to become a very complex situation. And trust me, it is a possible, incubator for a long-standing conflict. Yeah. And even if the conflict does not come out of it, like with a direct, as a direct offshoot, it's preparing the minds of young people for that kind of in the future. I expect young people to practice integrity. I mean, because I see that they are more involved. They're the ones who are making this, popular. Yeah. No, they're making the whole conflict popular because of the funding and all that. That's why there's the continuous competition between the two, because there are supporters for one and supporters for the other. And everyone thinks that the icon is right. It's right. But I'm trying to think, like, what is important here is the state, the country, the future, the success of it. If it's football, we want to win. That's what we want. Exactly. What secures that winning? Is it by the minister being king? Is it by the president of FEGAFOOT being, or is it by adopting policy that creates the environment for proper football management? Without any form of political interference, which of course would secure the success we want to see. So about that particular conflict, all I can say is that people should come out of their fan spaces and assess, as an independent, do an independent assessment and say things in a way that can create concessions, understanding, instead of exacerbating the already existing confusion. And it's a big shame for us, because the competition, which involves the recurrent use of the rhetoric haute instruction, something like high instructions, which also is an indicator that nothing happens in this country if the presidency does not speak. Exactly. It doesn't make sense. Like, a football manager should have a team, because he is a specialist. He's recruited as a specialist. Okay? So he should have that, enjoy that kind of autonomy. Yeah. And an arbiter can come in the event of conflict, to say, all right, look, hey, no, this wasn't done properly. The context should be established and the responsibility shared accordingly. Yeah. And we get out of it. But the play out of it, and everyone referring to the arbiter and saying, oh, I have the high instructions, I have the high instructions. Yeah. It makes our leadership system to look childish in the front of on the global stage. Yeah. So it's important that we come out of our fan spaces and review what is happening in a more sensible fashion. because our fun spaces are fanning our icons to understand that we're expecting them to stay on the stage of fight until they win. And so each person wants the icon to win. So
it just keeps going about.
Yeah, it just keeps going about.
Giving the wrong
and it's a whole bore because it's distracting us from important issues.
Exactly.
We should be, because at this time we should be concerned about lives lost, because that's the most devastating occurrence. We should be worried about how we can collectively work towards resolving the conflicts in the country that undermine the sanctity of human life. But young people are all behind the football, fanning conflict. We even have we even have political events coming up at the next year, like the presidential election. We should have been encouraging government to create some good practice around how this plays out. Let us know the candidates well ahead of time and let them debate, bring manifestos, and
whatever is going on in other countries when elections are being during the period of elections. Okay, in the US, they are currently preparing for elections as well. You see the debates, you see a whole program which is on the move, keeping people on their toes and giving the population good enough time to know the
who to choose.
And we don't have any of that in our country.
Unfortunately,
it's so painful.
But that's a US context. This is our context. But the least young people should do now is also to let whoever wants to be president in the next polls to know what they want, need. Their priorities, and it should, because these leaders come to serve us. We determine their office because it's a product, what they call their manifestos. It's a product of what they observe as our needs and what they can do to make our lives better. So if I were the president or presidential candidate for the next elections, I know what makes Cameroonians better now is give them enough beer, reduce the prices of alcohol,
and they'll be fine.
Proliferate, online violence, because that's what young people are communicating in government. Like, so what we need is more alcohol. We want less restrictions to destructive content. We want more. We want less restriction to drugs. We want less restriction. Is that what can give us a good present and a good future? No, it cannot.
We are so laxed as young people, so relaxed, and we don't care about the future. We have gotten so comfortable with bad governance, and we don't even care. And that's not what it has become. It has been so normal, and which is not supposed to be.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much for sharing with us. And lastly, I'd like to talk about your book. Tell us a little bit more about it.
I have just published a poetry collection titled Kiman. Kiman and subtitled Songs of War, Songs of Peace. It's a poetry collection I've co-published with Akere Maimo. He's a comms expert.
Okay.
Consultant with the Africans Union, and this collection is a manifesto of a peace trajectory. It's a manifesto of a journey towards sustainable peace, and in it, we feel like our inspirations were able to give us a collection which brings us through the life cycle of conflict and peace combined. It brings us through the structural properties or elements of public management, which enable violence, brings us through the play out or the development, or what you call the latent stages. Brings us through the triggers, brings us through the play out, and finally brings us through the denouement, and now a time for a recollection. And most importantly, ends with a strong resolve for never again.
Wow.
Never again, which is a clarion call. It's a common Rwandan phrase, which was adopted by government after the 1994 genocide. Seeing the devastating, inhumane play out of the genocide, the Rwandan community said, never again. Losing more than 1 million people. And this never again cannot be a Rwandan thing. It's an African thing. It's a Cameroonian thing as well. I want to be specific. It's a world thing. And why is it so? As my sister, you're walking down the road and you miss your step and fall in a pit and manage to get out of it. Have your leg heal, though you still have it balanced because of the fall. And then you look back at me and say, hey, Warren, there is a pit over there. You watch out, use the other road. And then you don't expect me to say, no, sister, no, I want to know what you found in that pit. I must get it. Listen, no, it's a dungeon. I had I cannot be myself again because of the fall. You cannot get in there. Please use a different road to be safe. You say, no, I want to get in there. That's not the spirit. The spirit of never again means that the genocide in Rwanda was not only for Rwandans, but it was injustice. It was an attack on humanity, wherever we find ourselves. And when Rwanda says never again, it means that it should never occur in any part of the world. That the sanctity of human life is defiled to an extent where you use all forms of objects to dehumanize, to deform, to destroy, to kill, up to babies. We should work in the world, wherever we find ourselves, to secure, a sustainable structure which protects life at all levels, which means come what may, whatever it takes to avert, to prevent the play out of conflict. Also, we cannot avoid conflict, but it's how we respond to it.
And how we manage it. Matters.
So we have those results, we have how it was responded to, we learn from them. And we choose best practice, which helps us now to keep up with life, mitigating the occurrence of conflict, and also in the event of conflict, knowing how to manage, how to sail through. So it should be a never again and a never again for everyone.
The world. Wow, that's beautiful. So where can we get the book?
We're going to do a launch first, and the distribution will start.
Okay.
But already you have an idea what the book is about, and everyone relates with it. Everyone at every level. So I'm sure it's a good read for everyone, because it's a product of inspiration. It's a combination of words spiritually collected.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Okay. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you for inspiring and preaching peace. And like you said, your doors are open to everyone who is willing to work on peace and to create an atmosphere of peace.
Sure.
So we'll be looking forward to your projects, the book launch, and having you back again.
Sure, anytime.
So we can see how to work and preach peace. So thank you so much, Mr. Warren. Did you have a good time?
A very amazing time, even with the cold.
Oh, great.
Thank you, Sih. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure, and I enjoyed my time. And I want to say a big congrats for the platform and gratitude for letting me have this space to create a community peace school.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So guys, that's the end of our topic for the day, and we'll be seeing you on the next segment. Bye.